I'm Hadas Thier, and this is Marxism in a Minute. We're in the middle of a recession, of course, and it's also triggered severe crises in local state budgets. States aren't able to collect as many taxes because so many businesses have shuttered, so many people are unemployed, so tax revenue is bottoming out while reliance on state and city services increases. At the same time, of course, the wealth of US billionaires has increased by over $1 trillion during the course of the pandemic. And this is exacerbating what's essentially a pre-existing condition in the US, which is mind-blowing inequality. If you look at this chart from the Federal Reserve, it shows how the country's top 1%, even before the pandemic, controlled about a third of the country's wealth. While the bottom half of the population, about 165 million people, represented in that tiny red line at the bottom of the chart, have had to divvy up 1% of the nation's wealth among us. Meanwhile, the tax rate paid by the richest 400 households is lower than that of the bottom half of households. And this has been a trajectory since the 1950s that has grown. So we have federally and in most states regressive tax policies that help to transfer wealth to the rich and then allow them to hoard it. And that money is, of course, desperately needed to fund education, healthcare, infrastructure. In New York, where I live, the governor is proposing draconian cuts to social services because of budget shortfalls and refuses to tax the rich. So over the last 40 years in New York, while the top 1% have captured half of the state's economic growth, they've paid the lowest tax burden. Now, Democratic socialists are pushing for a suite of bills to raise at least $50 billion a year by taxing the rich. And that money could stop hospital closures, fully fund our public transportation system, create tens of thousands of green jobs. I think these are the kind of campaigns that we need to bring that wealth out of the pockets of the ultra-rich and into the social services that we depend on.